expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Hebrew ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית בשלוש דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד. Hi, I'm Yana. It's a pleasure to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn basic Hebrew expressions. It's super easy, and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Hebrew. In Hebrew, there is no formal and informal language. You can use this introduction in both cases and keep it simple. However, in Hebrew, there is a difference between male and female language. Let's first see how Israeli people introduce themselves in a simple way. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד. Hi, I'm Yana. It's a pleasure. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד. Start by saying Shalom, אני, then saying your name. Shalom, אני יאנה. Finally say נעים מאוד. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד. And now let's see the same sentence if you wish to be more specific in addressing the person you are introduced to. If you're introducing yourself to a woman, you should say Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד להכיר אותך. Hi, I'm Yana. It's a pleasure to meet you. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד להכיר אותך. If you are talking to a man, you should say Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד להכיר אותך. Hi, I'm Yana. It's a pleasure to meet you. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד להכיר אותך. So, what has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at this together. The last part of the introduction has been changed based on the gender of the person you are talking to. Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד להכיר אותך for a woman versus Shalom, אני יאנה. נעים מאוד להכיר אותך for a man. אני, in this case, has not been changed, and in both cases stands for I am, regardless of your gender. The last sounds of the last word changes, however. אותך, if you are talking to a woman, and אותך, if you are speaking to a man. One more time. The simple way to introduce yourself in Hebrew is Shalom, אני יאנה, נעים מאוד. In case you want to personalize the greeting, you say Shalom, אני יאנה, נעים מאוד להכיר אותך. Shalom, אני יאנה, נעים מאוד להכיר אותך. Now it's time for Yana's insights. When you introduce yourself, it's a good habit to shake hands in Israel. If you don't want to worry about using the right word for men and women, just say נעים מאוד, as I said at the beginning of this lesson. There is no cultural importance if you add the last part to the introduction. It just makes the sentence more complete. Do you know how to say thank you in Hebrew? You will learn how to say this and many other words in the next lesson. עד הפעם הבאה. Till next time. Shalom, אני יאנה. Hi there, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית בשלוש דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in Hebrew. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use good manners as we thank people. אתם מוכנים? Are you ready? אז בואו נתחיל. So let's start. There are several ways to thank someone. Let's start with the easiest. It's just one word. תודה. תודה. תודה means thank you. When saying thank you very much, you just need to add רבה. תודה רבה. תודה רבה. רבה means a lot. So תודה רבה is like saying thank you very much. During the last lesson, we mentioned two ways of addressing someone, depending on his or her gender. Toda or toda rabba can be used with anyone. But in case you want to personalize the greeting, there is another phrase you should use. If you want to thank a woman, you say toda rabba lach. Toda rabba lach. Now, if you want to thank a man, you say toda rabba lecha. Toda rabba lecha. Let's break this phrase down. Lach means something like to you when you're talking to a woman. Toda rabba lach is thank you very much. Lecha is to you when you're talking to a man. Toda rabba lecha is thank you very much. How do you answer? It's easy. There are two ways to answer. The first one is simple. You're welcome. Bevakasha. Bevakasha. It's the simplest way to answer. But it is more polite to say en be'ad ma. En be'ad ma. Its literal meaning is it's nothing, and it is a common and polite way to respond to someone thanking you. So when someone is saying toda or toda rabba to you, we can simply reply with bevakasha or en be'ad ma. Now it's time for Yana's insights. If you are not sure about whether to use toda rabba lach or toda rabba lecha, keeping it simple is always your safest bet. Toda can be used with just about anyone, anywhere, and anytime. Do you know what lehitraot means? In our next lesson, you'll learn this and other greetings in Hebrew. תודה רבה, ועד הפעם הבאה. Shalom, אני יאנה. Hi everybody, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית בשלוש דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned how to be grateful to people by saying תודה. In this lesson, we learned some of the most common greetings used in Israel. אתם מוכנים? Are you ready? אז בואו נתחיל. So let's start. The most used greeting is Shalom. Shalom. We also saw it in the first lesson. Shalom simply means hi or hello. It can also mean goodbye. We use it when we meet, but also can use it when we part. Shalom means something like peace, so it makes the greeting very special. It is common to say shalom in both informal and formal situations, and at any time of the day. In the morning, you can also greet people with Boker Tov. Boker Tov, which means good morning. Boker is morning, and Tov is good. During the evening, we also say Erev Tov. Erev Tov. Erev is Hebrew for evening, so Erev Tov means good evening. Boker Tov and Erev Tov are used when we meet someone, but when we leave, we don't say them again. Another way to say goodbye in Hebrew is lehitraot. Lehitraot. It is actually more common to use lehitraot than shalom when leaving. But most people in Israel just say bye. Bye! Now you can greet people in many different ways in Hebrew. Let's review them all again. When meeting people in formal and informal situations, shalom. In the morning until the afternoon we say boker tov, and in the evening erev tov. When living in any situation, lehitraot, or simply bye. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Yana's insights. In formal situations, Israeli people commonly greet each other by shaking hands. On the other hand, if we meet someone we are very friendly with, we kiss each other on one cheek. Don't be afraid to do it with your Israeli friends. It's normal. During the next lesson, we'll learn the meaning of the phrase אתה מדבר אנגלית or את מדברת אנגלית. Do you already know it? We'll be waiting to talk about it with you in our next עברית בשלוש דקות lesson. להתראות. Bye! Shalom, ani Yana. Hi everybody, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית ב3 דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned the most common forms of greetings in Hebrew. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in Hebrew, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're saying, even if the answer is no. As already mentioned in previous lessons, in Hebrew there is a difference between male and female speech. So if you want to ask a woman, say, את מדברת אנגלית? את מדברת אנגלית? In Hebrew, verbs change depending on the pronoun that is used, according to the gender of both the speaker and the addressee. At, in this case, is the female pronoun for you. So the verb מדברת, which means speak, refers to a female. For example, if I said, I speak English, it will be אני מדברת אנגלית. אני, as we learned already, means I am. Ani is the only way you can say I am in Hebrew, regardless of one's gender. Then, מדברת is the female conjugation for speak or speaking. So, אני מדברת אנגלית will be used only by a female speaker. On the other hand, if you're asking a man if he speaks English, you say, אתה מדבר אנגלית? אתה מדבר אנגלית? אתה, in this case, is the male pronoun for you. So the verb מדבר, which means speak, refers to a man only. So if you're a man and want to say, I speak English, it will be אני מדבר אנגלית. It is important to notice that in Hebrew the pronoun and the verb change according to female, male, and also to singular or plural of the same sentence. So basically there are 4 ways to say each phrase. But don't worry, we will talk more about that later. For now, please only remember that you can use both את מדברת אנגלית and אתה מדבר אנגלית only if you're addressing one person. So let's review them once again. את מדברת אנגלית if you're asking a woman, and אתה מדבר אנגלית if you're asking a man. Adding סליחה, excuse me, the sentence becomes even more polite. סליחה, את מדברת אנגלית? סליחה, את מדברת אנגלית? Or, סליחה, אתה מדבר אנגלית? סליחה, אתה מדבר אנגלית? The responses you will receive could be one of these 3. כן, yes, כן. קצת, a little. קצת. לא, אני לא מדבר אנגלית. Or, לא, אני לא מדברת אנגלית. No, I don't speak English. לא, אני לא מדבר אנגלית. לא, אני לא מדברת אנגלית. To make every sentence negative in Hebrew, you only have to add לא before the verb, which simply means no. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Yana's insights. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can obviously use this question with any language you need. Israeli people study other European languages at school, so maybe you will get lucky. Just substitute אנגלית with רוסית for Russian, איטלקית for Italian, ספרדית for Spanish, and גרמנית for German. In this lesson, we mentioned the expression סליחה. But did you know that this could also be used as an apology? In the next lesson, we will learn this and other ways to apologize in Hebrew. It's never too late to show your good manners with Israeli people. I'll see you in the next עברית ב3 דקות lesson. להתראות! Shalom, ani Yana. Hi everybody, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית בשלוש דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned the phrase סליחה, את מדברת אנגלית, or סליחה, אתה מדבר אנגלית. Excuse me, do you speak English? We mentioned the word סליחה, which means excuse me in Hebrew. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to use סליחה and other words when apologizing in Hebrew. סליחה is a very common word and can be used in many situations. We can use סליחה in both formal and informal occasions, such as when we are ordering something in bars or restaurants. For example, סליחה, קפה אחד בבקשה. Excuse me, one coffee please. סליחה, קפה אחד, בבקשה. Do you remember what בבקשה means? We can also use it when asking a question. סליחה, איפה רחוב דיזינגוף? Excuse me, where is Dizengoff Street? Sometimes we also hear people say, סליחה, which means, excuse me, when we want to draw somebody's attention. Also, in a situation when you want to make your way through a crowd, for example, סליחה is used. Israeli people use סליחה also for apologizing. For example, if you accidentally bump into a person while making your way through that crowd. We also use the word אני מצטער or אני מצטערת if you really want to apologize. You also might hear this phrase translated as forgive me or I'm sorry in English. אני מצטערת. אני מצטערת if you're a woman, and אני מצטער. אני מצטער if you're a man. The phrase אני מצטער or אני מצטערת has a deeper meaning of apology than סליחה, although both mean I'm sorry. אני is I am, regardless of your gender, but the verb be sorry changes according to your gender. So מצטערת is I'm sorry or I apologize if it's a woman, and אני מצטער if it's a man. If you feel really bad about something and want to deepen the apology even more, you can just add מאוד to your apology, which simply means very much. We already used it in the lesson about self-introductions. Remember? Shalom, אני Yana, נעים מאוד. You can also add מאוד to get אני מאוד מצטערת. אני מאוד מצטערת for a woman, or אני מאוד מצטער. אני מאוד מצטער for a man. It simply translates as I'm really sorry into English. But please remember that you cannot use מאוד with סליחה. Now it's time for Yana's insights. If you are not sure about what will be the proper phrase to use as an apology, it's always your safest bet to simply use סליחה. In this way, Israeli people will definitely appreciate your politeness. Are you able to count in Hebrew? In the next lesson, we will learn the numbers in Hebrew from 1 to 10. Hint, we already learned how to say 1 in this class. I'll be waiting for you in our next עברית בשלוש דקות lesson. להתראות ועד הפעם הבאה. Shalom, ani Yana. Hi everybody, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית בשלוש דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in Hebrew, including סליחה and אני מצטערת. אני מצטער. In this lesson, we are going to learn numbers in Hebrew. Yes, numbers. מספרים, from 1 to 10. And you are going to learn them in only 3 minutes, בשלוש דקות. You already know the first number from last lesson and can make a full sentence. Do you remember? קפה אחד, בבקשה. Ready? Let's start. אחד. אחד. שתיים. שתיים. שלוש. שלוש. ארבע. ארבע. חמש. חמש. שש. שש. שבע. שבע. שמונה. שמונה. תשע. תשע. And עשר. עשר. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. Ready? אחד. שתיים. שלוש. ארבע. חמש. שש. שבע. שמונה. תשע. עשר. Great job. What is before אחד? Do you know? It's אפס. אפס. You don't have any more excuses. You can give your friends your cell phone number in Hebrew. Let's try together. We'll use the phrase המספר שלי הוא, which means my number is. המספר שלי הוא. המספר שלי הוא 337 122 4968. Can you read it by yourself? 3 3 7 1 2 2 4 9 6 8. Perfect. Now it's time for Yana's insights. When you travel in Israel, it's a good idea to start paying attention to the bus numbers, street numbers, dates, hours, and the local money, the shekel. It's the best practice to remember. You can start now if you are at your hometown to practice Hebrew numbers in your daily life. Do you know the Hebrew word for 100? In the next lesson, we are going to learn the numbers from 11 to 100 in Hebrew. Your task now is to practice the numbers we studied in this lesson, from 1 till 10. להתראות ועד הפעם הבאה. ביי! Shalom, אני Yana. Hi everybody, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית ב3 דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned the numbers from 1 to 10. Have you forgotten? Here, I'll tell you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do you remember how to say your phone number? And now let's continue from 11. 11 11 12 12 13 14 15 16 16 17 17 18 18 19 19. And finally we have 20. 20. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. These numbers may seem harder to remember, but you really just have to memorize slight changes in pronunciation of 1 to 10, and just add esre after numbers starting from 10. Let's not stop at 20. Counting from 11 to 100 is super easy. Now I'll give you the tens. 30 30 40 40 50 50 60 60 70 70 80 80 90 90 100 100. While you have to memorize a few of these numbers, there are a couple of tricks that will make memorizing them incredibly easy. All the tens are basically the numbers 1 to 10 with slight changes, but always end up with im. For example, 3 is 3 and 30 is 30. 3 30. Let's take another example. Do you remember what 5 is? 5. So to make it 50, you change it to 50. 5 50. And 8 will make 80. 8 80. The last thing to learn today is how to form compound numbers above 20. This is also super easy. Take the tens and simply add the numbers you learned in the previous lesson. But don't forget to add ve when you're making compound numbers over 20. Ve means and. So basically, if you count 22, you say 22, meaning 20 and 2. It is very important, so don't forget that. Let's try it out. How would you say 56 in Hebrew? Let's take it step by step. 50 is 50, and then add the tiny ve and 6, 6. 56. After only 2 lessons, you are now able to count to 100 in Hebrew. In the next lesson, we are going to put your number knowledge to use. Do you have all the skills you need to go shopping in Israel? If not, I'll be waiting for you in our next עברית ב3 דקות lesson. להתראות ועד הפעם הבאה. Shalom, אני יאנה. Hi everybody, I'm Yana. Welcome to HebrewPod101.com's עברית ב3 דקות, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hebrew. In the last lesson, we learned how to count in Hebrew. I hope you spent some time practicing the numbers, because they will come in handy today. We're going to learn how to go shopping in Israel. Before we go, you need to know how to say how much is it. כמה זה עולה? כמה זה עולה. כמה is how much. זה is this for an object. And עולה is costs. Are you ready to go shopping? Let's go! You see something you like and want to ask the shop clerk how much it costs. The first thing to say to a shop clerk is סליחה. Do you remember what that means? Excuse me. סליחה, כמה זה עולה? סליחה, כמה זה עולה? You don't even need to know the name of each thing you are interested in. You can just use ze, which means this. So it's super easy. Usually the clerk will answer by only saying the amount it costs. For example, 89 shekel, 30 shekel, 100 shekel, etc. What number is 89? I'm not telling you. Okay, it's 89. 89 shekel. It costs 89 shekel. Now it's time for Yana's insights. A quicker way to ask how much is kama ze, which literally means how much. Even when you ask for a coffee at the counter, you can ask the cashier. קפה אחד בבקשה, כמה זה? One coffee please. How much is it? קפה אחד, בבקשה. כמה זה? At this point, can you count shekel in Hebrew? We are going to learn how to do this and much more in the next lesson. I'll be waiting for you in our next עברית ב3 דקות lesson. להתראות.
Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, are there dialects in Hebrew? Modern Israeli Hebrew has no geographical dialects, but there are some features of the language that change between different social or ethnic groups, expressed mainly in the pronunciation of guttural consonants. Hebrew was a frozen language for 17 centuries. It was used mostly for liturgical purposes and was not a spoken language. Towards the end of the 19th century started a process called the revival of the Hebrew language. It took place in Europe and Palestine and changed the usage of Hebrew from a sacred language to a spoken one, the one used for daily life in Israel. In the beginning of this process, there were mainly three groups of Hebrew regional accents: Ashkenazi, spoken by Jews from Eastern Europe; Sephardi, spoken by Jews from Spain, Brazil, Portugal, and Italy; and Mizrahi, spoken by Jews from the Middle East. As the process went on, features of the different kind of pronunciation merged, and today spoken Hebrew has two main varieties: Oriental and non-Oriental, that differ mainly in the pronunciation of the consonants Ein, Chet, and Reish. In short, an Israeli whose parents came from Yemen sounds a little different than an Israeli whose parents came from Russia, but in further generations, the accent normalizes to more standard modern Hebrew accent. How was it? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, why is it that counting nouns in Hebrew, the counted noun is sometimes referred to as singular, even if there's more than one? You may have heard the common Hebrew birthday greeting, Ad 120 shana, meaning, may you live to be 120, or literally, until 120 years. If you have, you probably wondered why the word for year, shana, is in its singular form and not its plural form, shanim. The reason for this is a rule regarding Hebrew counting. When counting a noun in Hebrew, if you have more than 10 of the same item, you can refer to the items as singular or as plural. It's your choice. 10 items or fewer will always be plural. For example, 50 shekels could be either 50 shkalim or 50 shekel, and 75 people could either be 75 אנשים or 75 ish. But 9 years can only be 9 shanim, and 5% can only be 5%. However, despite this rule, Using the singular form for counting is common only with nouns that are counted frequently, like money, units of time such as hours, days, and years, or percents. It's unlikely to hear someone say, "יש 20 ציפור על העץ." It's like saying there are 20 birds on the tree. If you're unsure, you can just use the plural form with numbers except 1. It will always be appropriate. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, how can I tell what the plural forms of Hebrew nouns are? In order to understand plural nouns, you'll need to learn how nouns in Hebrew work first. All nouns are either masculine or feminine, and their gender depends on the last letter of the Hebrew word. Sounds confusing? Don't worry, we'll break it down in this lesson. Most feminine nouns end in the letters taf, t, or hey, h, while most masculine nouns end in any other letter. The plural form of the nouns is just as easy to remember. The basic rule is that feminine nouns change the last letter to the letters vav, taf, ot, while masculine nouns get an extra yod mem at the end, im. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to make plural nouns correctly in Hebrew. First, let's take the word lamp, which in Hebrew is menora. Lamp ends in hey, so it's feminine. To make a feminine noun plural, we simply remove the hey and add vav taf, ot, and get the word menorot, meaning lamps. Let's do another example with a masculine noun. The word for bag in Hebrew is tik. Tik is a masculine noun, so we just add yud mem, im, at the end, and we get tikim, meaning bags. So far, so good. But of course, there are some exceptions. Some nouns get the opposite gender ending in the plural form. For example, the word ant in Hebrew is nemala. It ends in hey, and like most of the nouns that end in this letter, it's a feminine noun. However, in the plural form, it takes on the masculine ending, so it sounds like this, nemalim, meaning ants. Another example is the word table, which in Hebrew is shulchan. Here, it's the opposite. Table is a masculine noun, but in the plural form, it takes the feminine ending, making the word shulchanot, tables. Unfortunately, there is no rule to help you figure out which are the exceptions to the rule. Hebrew learners just have to memorize them. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what does the Hebrew expression rosh katan mean? The expression rosh katan literally means small head and is used to describe a person who only does the bare minimum or doesn't think outside the box. It's mostly a negative expression, but you can also use it to describe yourself, like this. אני מעדיף להיות ראש קטן. Literally, I prefer to be a small head. The opposite expression is ראש גדול, meaning big head. This describes a person who makes an effort to go above and beyond what is expected of him. It's a positive attribute and is often seen in job advertisements as something companies are looking for in a candidate. This expression can also appear in a different form as a verb, להגדיל ראש, to make one's head larger or to expand one's head. You can use this expression if you want to say that a certain person is very responsible and will go out of their way to think outside the box and find creative solutions. Here are a few examples. ענת היא מנהלת מצוינת. היא תמיד מגדילה ראש. Literally, Anat is an excellent manager. She always expends her head. Here's another example. איתי, אם אתה רוצה להתקדם בחברה, אתה חייב להתחיל להגדיל ראש. Literally, Itai, if you want to rise in the company ranks, you have to start expanding your head. Do you know any other Hebrew idioms? Tell us in the comments. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what does the word nora mean and how should it be used? The word nora has gone through some interesting changes over the years. It appears in the Bible meaning awesome or awe-inspiring in reference to God. You can say it in this sentence from the book of Deuteronomy, Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora, which means the great and mighty and awesome God. In modern-day Hebrew, the meaning of the word nora has lost its positive aspects and become more about the fear-inducing aspects, become an adjective meaning terrible or awful, like in these examples. הסרט היה נורא. The movie was awful. Or in this one, זו הייתה חוויה נוראה. It was a horrible experience. The word nora also appears in the expression lo nora, meaning something like, it's okay, or it's not a big deal. Let's look at this example. Say you're with your roommate and you're on your way home. When you check your bag, you realize you forgot your keys. Your roommate could say, שכחת את המפתחות? לא נורא, יש לי מפתח. You forgot the keys? It's okay, I have a key. The word nora can also be used as an adverb meaning very or terribly. It can be added to negative adjectives, but also to positive adjectives like נורא יפה, terribly beautiful, or נורא מעניין, very interesting. It can appear either before or after the adjective. One important thing to note is that this use of the word nora is colloquial and shouldn't be used in formal situations. So next time you're with your Israeli friends, try using the word nora with one of the many expressions we've learned in this lesson and see how you sound. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what does the particle I mean in Hebrew? I is a prefix symbolizing negation. It comes from the word en, literally meaning there is no. When this prefix is joined with certain words, the compound means the opposite of the original word. As you may know, nouns in Hebrew have gender. So if you add a prefix to it, how do you know what gender it is? Trick question. Actually, the prefix doesn't affect the gender of the word it precedes. Let's look at some examples. The word havana means understanding. So, אי-הבנה is misunderstanding, like in this sentence. אני מתנצלת, זו הייתה אי-הבנה. I apologize, it was a misunderstanding. The noun understanding, havana, is a feminine noun. When adding I to it, the gender doesn't change. This is why we use the feminine form of it was, זו הייתה. Next, we have the word justice, which in Hebrew is tzedek. So, when we combine it with the prefix I, it becomes tzedek. Injustice, like in this sentence. מדיניות הממשלה יוצרת אי-צדק חברתי. The government's policy is creating social injustice. The noun justice, tzedek, is masculine and wasn't changed by the prefix I. This is why the adjective social, חברתי, takes the masculine form. Our last tip is about the plural form. Once again, the prefix has no influence on the gender of the word. The word will take its plural form, if it has one, and the prefix will stay where it is. For example, let's look at the compound from the beginning of this lesson. Misunderstanding. Understanding is havana, so misunderstanding will be ihavana. The plural form of understanding is havanot, so the plural form of misunderstanding is ihavanot. How was it? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, why is it that in Hebrew, some adjectives are different when they refer to people than when they refer to objects? This issue involves adjectives in their feminine form, mostly adjectives for nationality like American or Russian. The difference is in the ending of the adjectives. It can either be with it or with ya. For example, a Russian woman would be isha Rusiya, but a Russian boat will be sfina Rusit. So why does this happen? First of all, it's important to know that both forms of these adjectives are commonly used, but in different contexts. Usually the ending ya, like in Rusiya, Russian woman, is used to refer to a woman, while the ending it, like in Rusit, Russian boat, is used to describe places or objects, such as a restaurant, a shirt, or the Russian language. Grammatically speaking, both forms are acceptable. The foundation of Hebrew grammar is the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, in which we find both of those forms used for all purposes. In the Tanakh, the feminine ending ya describes women, but also objects or places, like in the word nochriya, meaning foreign. Some examples with this word would be Anochi nochriya, I am foreign, and be'eretz nochriya, in a foreign country. Besides the ending ya, there is the ending it, also used in the Tanakh for both people and objects. For example, Isha Mitzrit, Egyptian woman. Dlat Mitzrit, Egyptian pumpkin. We can even find both endings for the same definition. Ruth HaMoaviyah, Ruth the Moabite, Ruth from the kingdom of Moab. Shimrit HaMoavit, Shimrit the Moabite, Shimrit from the kingdom of Moab. However, as I said earlier, in today's Hebrew there is usually a difference between the two forms. This rule doesn't apply only to nationalities but to other adjectives as well. Let's look at some examples. Isha Datiyah, religious woman. Shchuna Datit, religious neighborhood. Isha Chofshiyah, free woman. Tznicha Chofshit, free falling, which more naturally translates as skydiving. Since this is not a set rule but rather a differentiation used in more common language, sometimes the ending it is used for a woman too, like in these examples. Secular woman, Chilonit. Iranian woman, Iranit. Israeli woman, Israelit. Confused? Well, there's some good news. Regardless of the singular form, the plural form will always stay the same, yot. For example, let's look at some adjectives that are used when referring to a woman. As you may know, the adjective has to agree with the noun in both gender and number. Rusiot, Russian. Datiot, religious. Chofshiyot, free. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, why is the word panim, face in Hebrew, plural? This question has to do with an interesting phenomenon in the Hebrew language. There are a few nouns in Hebrew which are plural in their grammatical form, but singular conceptually. Sound confusing? Let's break it down. The four main nouns that are singular but plural grammatically are life, chaim, water, mayim, and sky, shamayim. In addition to the noun form, this lesson's question, panim. As you can see, all of these words have typical plural masculine endings, im. Grammatically speaking, these words are plural. They don't have a singular form, and the adjectives attached to them will take a plural form as well. Some examples would be chaim arukim, long life, mayim chamim, hot water, shamayim meunanim, cloudy sky, panim yafim, or yafot, pretty face. This noun is both feminine and masculine. So why are these words plural? There is no definite answer to this question, but there are a few interesting theories. One of those theories suggests that these words are plural because all of these nouns are constantly changing. Each of them is one noun that actually has many forms and cannot be captured by a singular noun. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות. Hi everybody, Idit here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, how do you use the Hebrew preposition al? The Hebrew word al has many uses. It can mean on, about, of, at, or for, depending on the context. Let's go through some examples so you can learn how to use al correctly. First, let's do some examples for when al means on. יש ארנק על השולחן. There is a wallet on the table. התמונה תלויה על הקיר. The picture is hanging on the wall. Here are some examples of the word על when it means about or of. אנחנו צריכים לדבר על זה. We need to talk about this. לא שמעתי על הסרט הזה. I haven't heard of this movie. The word על is also used as at to indicate a direction, like in this sentence. תסתכלי על האיש הזה. Look at that man. It can also be used as for to indicate purpose or consideration. תודה על המתנה. Thank you for the present. הוא נענש על הפשע שביצע. He was punished for the crime he committed. The word al can also be conjugated in a few ways depending on the subject it's referring to. These conjugations are created by combining the preposition al with a pronoun such as I or you. These conjugations are needed in case the word al is referring to a person not being mentioned by name. For example, if we said, I'm thinking about him, instead of, I'm thinking about Ben. Likewise, it can also be conjugated for objects without explicitly stating them. For example, the book is on it, instead of, the book is on the shelf. Here are a few examples for conjugations of the word al. סיפרתי לך עליה. I told you about her. אין מקום על השולחן, יש עליו ספרים. There is no room on the table, it has books on it. אתה יכול להסתכל על הרהיטים, אבל אל תישען עליהם. Literally, you can look at the furniture, but don't lean on them. כל הקפה נשפך עליי. All the coffee was spilled on me. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות. Hi everybody, Idit here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what does the expression על רגל אחת mean? This expression, meaning literally on one foot, is very common in Hebrew, and many people use it without even knowing its origin. Basically, it's used to describe something that's done offhandedly with no previous thought or preparation. But where did it come from? The origin of this expression, like many other Hebrew expressions, is a story from the Talmud, a central text of Rabbinic Judaism. The story revolves around the great Talmudic sage Hillel, also known as Hillel the Elder, one of the most important figures in Jewish history. Hillel was a famous scholar known for his gentleness and patience. In the Talmud, Hillel is often mentioned together with his colleague Shammai. The two scholars often disagreed on the interpretations of Torah law. While Shammai tended to follow the stricter interpretation, Hillel considered love of men as the core of Jewish teaching. Our story is about a man who wanted to convert to Judaism, but didn't really want to put in the time or effort to do so. This man went to Shammai with one request. He wanted Shammai to teach him the entire Torah while he, the student, was standing on one foot. Shammai was insulted by the man's ridiculous request, since the Torah is deep, profound, and complex, and cannot be taught in the short time in which a person can stand on one foot. When Shammai threw him out of the house, the man went to Hillel. He asked him for the same thing. Hillel accepted the challenge and told the man, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor." That's the whole Torah. The rest of the explanation of this, go and study it. The story teaches us the special virtues of Hillel and of the Torah, and it's also the source of the expression al regel achat, on one foot. Today, you can use this expression when you want to imply that something is done briefly, without much thought behind it. For example, if you want to say that an issue is very complicated and cannot be solved easily, you can say, "זה עניין מסובך, אי אפשר לפתור אותו על רגל אחת." It's a complicated issue, it cannot be resolved on one foot. Or if you just gave someone the short, undetailed version of a complicated matter, you can say, "זה כל הסיפור על רגל אחת." That's the whole story on one foot. You can also find this expression in introductory articles and books that explain complicated issues in an accessible way. Something like Guides for Dummies. For example, the title of an article about economics that try to simplify the basics of it could be כלכלה על רגל אחת, Economy on one foot. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות. Hi everybody, Dit here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what is the construct state smikhut and what are its rules? The smikhut construct is very confusing, since it can alter the forms of words and change all kinds of grammatical rules. Let's try to make it clearer. So what is smikhut anyway? Basically, it's a way of expressing of in Hebrew, and it consists of two words side by side that create a noun. Let's go through some examples so you can learn how to use smikhut correctly. Let's look at a simple example. The compound water bottle. A water bottle is a bottle of water. In this compound, the main noun is the second word, the bottle, and the first word describes the noun. In Hebrew, it will be pretty much the same, except that the first word will be the main noun and the second will be the description. So, in Hebrew, water bottle will be bakbuk mayim. Bakbuk meaning bottle, and mayim meaning water. Some compounds combine two nouns to create a completely different noun. For example, the word weather in Hebrew is the compound mezeg avir. The word mezeg means temper, and avir means air. So literally, this compound means air temper. In some cases, the singular form of a compound can include a plural noun. For example, the compound dog trainer in Hebrew will be me'alef klavim. The word for trainer, me'alef, will be singular, but the word for dog, kelev, will take the plural form, klavim. This is to indicate that the trainer trains more than one specific dog. In the same way, a window cleaner will be menakeh chalanot, and not menakeh chalon. So far, it's not so bad, right? Well, now it's starting to get complicated. If the main noun is feminine, singular, and ends with the letter hey, then the hey becomes tough. Like in this example of the compound cheesecake, uga plus gvina, ugat gvina. Another issue is the plural form of these compounds. Like in English, when multiplying the compound, only one of the nouns takes the plural form. the main one. Therefore, if we want to say cheesecakes, we will not say ugot gvinot, but rather ugot gvina. If the main noun is masculine and plural, the plural masculine ending, im, becomes a. Notice that the nikud appears on the letter just before the yud. We'll use our first example again. If we want to say water bottles, the plural form of bakbuk, bakbukim, will turn into bakbukei, like so. Bakbukim plus maim, bakbukei maim. Another rule the smikhut is altering is the prefix ha, which means the. As you may know, when turning an indefinite noun into definite, we add the prefix ha to the noun itself, and also to the adjective it has. For example, the big bottle will be habakbuk hagadol. However, in smikhut compounds, only the describing noun gets the prefix ha, like so. Bakbuk hamaim, the water bottle. Lastly, there is one more issue, perhaps the most confusing one. Sometimes the vowels of the first noun change, like in these examples. Cheder plus ochel. Chadar ochel, dining room. Bait plus kele. Beit kele, jailhouse. Most Hebrew speakers don't know the complicated rules for this unique construct. They simply learned how to use it when acquiring the language growing up. For Hebrew learners, it's definitely harder to learn these exceptions. But the more Hebrew you hear and speak, the more natural it will become. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, which are the most common Hebrew greetings? Like any other language, Hebrew has many greetings that native speakers use all the time. In this lesson, we'll learn some of the most common ones. The first one is titchadesh. The expression titchadesh is said to someone who just bought or got something new. It can be anything from a haircut to a new house. This expression comes from the word chadash, meaning new, and its literal translation is something like, you shall be renewed. There's no natural translation in English. If you want to say the same expression to a woman, you'll say titchadshi. If you want to use it to greet more than one person, you'll use the plural form, titchadshu. The next expression is kol hakavod. Kol hakavod literally means all the respect. You can say it to someone in order to show your appreciation for an achievement they've made, big or small. It means something like, well done, or way to go. Unlike titchadesh, this expression doesn't change according to the person you're speaking to. An example would be, העברית שלך טובה מאוד, כל הכבוד. Your Hebrew is very good, way to go. The next expression is very useful. It's said a few times every day, בתיאבון. Betavon literally means with appetite, and is the Hebrew equivalent of the French bon appétit. You'll hear it from waiters in restaurants and from hosts presenting a dish, and you can use it when eating with other people right before taking the first bite. If you happen to sneeze around Hebrew speakers, you'll hear the next expression, labriut. Labriut literally means to health. It's the Hebrew version of the English bless you, and the Yiddish zum gesund. You can use it whenever somebody sneezes. Try using these expressions whenever you can. It'll make your Hebrew sound more natural. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is it true that Hebrew was a dead language for centuries? Actually, Hebrew was never dead. It just ceased to be a spoken language. But let's start from the beginning. Historically, Hebrew is regarded as the language of the Israelites and their ancestors, and was a spoken language in the kingdoms of Israel and Judah from about 1200 BCE. Hebrew had ceased to be an everyday spoken language somewhere between 200 and 400 CE, declining since the Bar Kokhba revolt. However, it survived into the medieval period as the language of Jewish liturgy, rabbinic literature, and poetry. Since the Bible is written in Hebrew, all the Jewish people around the world could read and understand it. In the 18th century, the Jewish community in Jerusalem was composed of Sephardic Jews who spoke Ladino or Arabic, and Ashkenazi Jews who spoke Yiddish. In order to communicate, they needed a common language, so they created the early version of spoken Hebrew. However, it still wasn't a native language, but a basic way to communicate. The literary Hebrew was renewed in Europe starting from the 18th century by a Jewish movement that decided Hebrew was deserving of fine literature. Hebrew writers of the time wanted to write essays, poems, and novels, and to translate European literature and science books. However, they realized it's very hard to write about contemporary topics in a language that has been frozen in time, so they had to find a way to update the language's vocabulary. Thus, biblical language was combined with figures of speech and vocabulary from the rabbinic literature, together with vocabulary and syntax found in European languages and Semitic languages such as Arabic and Aramaic. Another important contribution to the Hebrew language was made in the 12th and 13th centuries by a Jewish family of rabbis who translated Jewish writing from Arabic to Hebrew. The Arabic language, which belongs to the same language family as Hebrew, made an important contribution to the revival of the language. In the 19th century, Hebrew writers began arriving in Palestine, influencing the development of spoken Hebrew. Hebrew schools were built, and Hebrew was used in public activities, and eventually became the language used by the Jewish population in Israel. This process was aided by many organizations that saw Hebrew as an ideological purpose. Today, the spoken Hebrew in Israel is called Israeli Hebrew or Modern Hebrew. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Leitot! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what are some common Hebrew idioms? Every language has its everyday idioms. In English, for example, we have idioms like, what's up, or it's raining cats and dogs. In this lesson, you'll learn some everyday Hebrew idioms. The first one is, lidchof et ha'af. It literally means pushing or shoving one's nose. As you can probably guess, it means to meddle in other people's business. The next one is לעשות סיפור. It literally means to make a story, and it's used like the idiom to make a big deal in English. For example, אל תעשה מזה סיפור. Don't make a big deal out of it. The next idiom has to do with superstition. לפתוח פה לשטן. It literally means to open one's mouth to the devil. It originated from the Jewish prohibition against saying bad things about yourself or other people. Today, however, it's used in a similar way to the expression, don't tempt fate. Don't say good things because you might jinx your luck. For example, אני חושבת שאני אעבור את המבחן, אבל אני לא רוצה לפתוח פה לשטן. I think I'll pass the exam, but I don't want to tempt fate. Our last idiom represents a life philosophy. בא לי. It literally means, comes to me. But it means something like, I want, with a whimsical edge to it. A lot like the expression, I feel like. It was considered a children's idiom, but quickly became common among people of all ages. You can use it with nouns like, בא לי pizza. I feel like eating pizza. Or with verbs like, לא בא לי ללכת לעבודה. I don't feel like going to work. Note that this is a slightly cheeky expression, so you shouldn't use it in formal situations or with people you don't really know. It can come off as rude. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Leitot! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what are the differences between all the adverbs that mean really and very in Hebrew? There are a few adverbs that can mean very or really, and this can be somewhat confusing. In this lesson, we'll review some of the most common ones to clear things up. The most basic one, which is the most accurate equivalent of very, is me'od. Like any other adverb in Hebrew, me'od should come after the adjective it refers to. However, due to the influence of English and other languages, in colloquial use, it can appear before the adjective. It's very simple. For example, let's look at the two ways to say a very big house, using the word me'od. Bait gadol me'od. Bait me'od gadol. Our next word is mamash. The adverb mamash means really, truly, or very. For example, really good could be mamash tov. In colloquial speech, it can also precede the word no to mean absolutely not, or no way. Mamash lo. The next adverb is be'emet. It literally means in truth, and is used to make sure something is true or real. For example, is it really you in the picture? Would be ze be'emet ata betmuna? Unlike any of the previous words in this lesson, this word can also stand alone. You can ask be'emet when you hear something surprising like, there's a bear in the kitchen. Be'emet? Our next adjective is a lot like the word most, beyoter. The adverb beyoter comes after the adjective. When it comes after a definite adverb, it means the most, like in the biggest house, habayit hagadol beyoter. When it comes after a verb or an indefinite adverb, it means quite, very much, like in a very big house, bayit gadol beyoter. The next word is the colloquial version of beyoter, hachi. This adverb means the most, and will always come before the adjective, like so. Hachi gadol, the biggest. Hachi chacham, the smartest. Our last word is one you may have heard before, nora. This word can be either an adjective meaning terrible or an adverb meaning terribly, that can be used together with negative or positive adjectives. Like me'od, it can appear either before or after the adjective, like this. Nora ta'im, terribly tasty. Mafchid nora, terribly scary. Adverbs can make your sentence much more expressive, so try and use them. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Leitot! Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, what are the meanings of some of Hebrew's unique greetings? Hebrew has special greetings for different occasions. Let's take a closer look at some of them. We'll start with the very useful greeting which means good luck, behatzlacha. It literally means with success, as if to say, may you complete your task with success. You can say to a person to wish them good luck with a test, a job interview, a new project, or any other goal they wish to achieve. For example, if your friend got promoted and you want to wish him or her good luck with their new job, you can say, behatzlacha batafkid hachadash, or simply, behatzlacha. The next expression can be heard around dinner tables, in pubs, and at parties. Lechaim. It means cheers, and it's used as a toast when drinking with company. The literal meaning of lechaim is to life, reminding us that life itself should always be celebrated. Lechaim. This next expression can come in handy when celebrating a happy occasion such as a wedding, engagement, childbirth, graduation, and so on. When someone congratulates you, you can answer, bekarov etzlecha, literally meaning, soon so shall it be by you. For example, if you just got engaged to your girlfriend and a single friend congratulates you, you can reply with, toda, bekarov etzlecha. To a female friend, you will say, bekarov etzlech. The last expression is a famous one. You may know it since it came from Yiddish and was adopted by English as well. You may know it as mazel tov, and in Hebrew it's mazal tov. It literally means good luck, but is used as congratulations. This expression was originally meant to declare that a good thing had happened. It was said at weddings and births as if to say, what a lucky event has happened. With time, the meaning was altered a little, and today this expression is used to wish a person luck in the future. You can use it whenever you want to congratulate someone, on a new job, winning an award, graduating from university, and so on. For example, Mazal tov leyom ha'uledet, literally, congratulations for your birthday. Or, Mazal tov al hazchiya b'makom harishon, congratulations on winning the first place. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. להתראות. Hi everybody, Edith here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Hebrew questions. The question for this lesson is, can you use adjectives as nouns in Hebrew? In Hebrew, it's possible to omit the noun and use its adjective instead. To explain how it's done, let's look at some examples. Let's say you're at a clothing store looking for a new shirt. You've tried on a few and now you need to decide which shirt to buy. Eventually, you decide on a red one. You can tell the salesperson, I'll take the red shirt. אני אקח את החולצה האדומה. But since it's obvious the subject here is the shirt, you can simply say, I'll take the red one. אני אקח את האדומה. Unlike English, when the word shirt is omitted, it's not replaced by another noun or one. The adjective itself functions as a noun. It's important to note that the adjectives you use has to match the gender of the original noun. The word for shirt in Hebrew, חולצה, is feminine. So the adjective red, adom, took its feminine form, aduma. If you were to buy a hat instead of a shirt, you would have to match the adjective to the gender of the masculine word hat, kova, and say adom. Likewise, if you want to refer to an item that has the plural form, like flowers, socks, or glasses, you'll use the plural form for the adjectives, adumim or adumot. Let's put it all in one example. Let's say you run into a friend you haven't seen for a long time and ask how are her 4 children doing. She gives you a quick update on them. The older son is an actor, the middle daughter goes to university, and the young ones are still in school. If she were to say that in Hebrew, her sentences would have been much shorter, since the subject is her children, and the adjectives explain the gender and the quantity of the nouns. She will not have to say son, daughter, or ones, because all the information is included in the adjectives. Here is the Hebrew sentence. הגדול שחקן, האמצעית לומדת באוניברסיטה, והקטנים עדיין בבית הספר. Hebrew adjectives help you keep your sentences short and sweet. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. See you in another lesson. להתראות.
Hi, welcome to Introduction to Hebrew. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Edith. In this series, you'll learn everything you need to know to get started learning Hebrew.
That's right, and we're here to help guide you through your journey. In this lesson, you'll learn the reasons why you should start learning Hebrew and how to get started.
Let's begin with the most obvious question. Why learn a new language?
There are countless reasons, but perhaps the biggest one of all is that it could actually change your life. Learning a new language unlocks new pathways that are off limits to you now. There are certain things that you simply cannot do without having the technical or cultural skills that come from learning a new language.
Like working or living in another country.
Knowing another language provides you with greater job opportunities. You have the freedom to move to another country halfway around the world and earn a living, or even better yet, build a career from it, instead of just being stuck in one place. Language allows you to visit or live in places that you may never have even considered going. Knowing another language simply gives you more options to choose from.
And learning a new language can help you to be more open-minded and see the world from a new perspective.
Language and culture go hand in hand. The world is a big place, and by broadening your understanding of other cultures, it allows you to be more empathetic and understanding of the many different ways that people live their lives. With language, you're able to see and experience more, which helps you grow as a person.
Learning a new language also improves your memory.
Several studies have consistently shown that those who study another language have improved memory as opposed to those who didn't. Learning another language also keeps your brain healthy by significantly delaying the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. This difference can be as much as 4 to 5 more years of quality life.
And those are just some of the reasons you should learn another language. The list just goes on and on.
Now you know the benefits of studying another language, but why should you learn Hebrew in particular?
Well, do you know the Bible? That was written in Hebrew.
One of the best reasons for learning Hebrew is to gain access to ancient texts in their original language. The Old Testament of the Bible was written in Biblical Hebrew. By learning modern Hebrew, you can begin to understand what the original writers intended in these complex texts. These ancient words take on new meaning when you know the word in Hebrew.
Speaking of history, modern Hebrew made history when it became a spoken language after 2,000 years of only being used for prayer and in religious texts.
That's right, Hebrew is unique in this way. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, a man called Eliezer ben Yehuda worked hard to revive Hebrew as a spoken language. By learning Hebrew, you can be a part of this unique movement of history.
Today, Israel is a leader in the area of high-tech industry.
And this means there are many jobs and business opportunities in tech in Israel. Although most Israelis speak English, learning Hebrew will help you communicate in an effective way with Israelis. There are many times knowing the language and culture of Israel will give you an advantage when making a business deal or finding work in Israel.
Another reason to learn Hebrew is to better understand politics in the region.
There is quite a lot going on in the Middle East right now. Learning Hebrew will help you understand Israeli politics and perspective. You'll be able to read Israeli newspapers and watch Israeli news and learn about this intense region in a new way.
There are so many reasons to learn Hebrew.
Okay then, we've talked about why you should start learning a language and why you should start learning Hebrew, but how should they get started, Edith?
Well, it's as simple as learning your first word in Hebrew and building up from there.
The good news is that you already know some Hebrew.
Hallelujah, chutzpah, hummus.
These are words that have made their way into English, but the reverse is also true. Many English words have also made their way into Hebrew. In fact, for many modern technologies, like telephone or television, the word most often used in Hebrew is derived from English.
Telephone, televizia, autobus.
So there are many words you already know in Hebrew.
Let's teach you something that you might not know, but is very useful. Toda. It means thank you in Hebrew.
That's a useful phrase. Can you tell us more about these characters, though?
Sure. In Hebrew, you use the Hebrew alphabet. Once you learn the letters and their sounds, it's actually pretty easy to read. Most letters in Hebrew represent a consonant sound, but we also use a system of dots to represent vowels. These vowel dots are called nikud. When you're learning to read, you read texts with the vowel dots. As you get better, you read the letters without the dots.
Isn't that a little confusing?
No, it's actually easier than it looks. Hebrew is a systematic language, and the vowel sounds will be clear from the structure of the word. This is toda with the vowel dots, toda. And this is toda without the vowel dots, toda.
You'll learn the Hebrew writing system eventually, but for now, let's put up some romanization to help you get started.
The romanization will make it easier for you to learn Hebrew until you learn to read the letters yourself.
That certainly makes things much easier to learn. Well, okay then. Now listen and repeat after Edith.
Toda,
Now you try.
toda,
Your turn again.
toda.
Well done. Now you know how to say thank you in Hebrew. We've covered a lot of things already, so why don't we wrap up the first lesson and recap what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that studying another language has many benefits, such as providing new job and business opportunities. The Hebrew language has a unique history, and learning Hebrew will open up a new aspect of history for you. And to say thank you in Hebrew, it's
toda.
In the next lesson, we're going to demystify Hebrew pronunciation by taking a look at the sounds of Hebrew. So be sure to watch the next video. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Welcome to Introduction to Hebrew. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Edith.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Hebrew pronunciation. Pronunciation refers to the manner in which a word is spoken, so don't focus on reading what's on screen. Instead, focus on listening and repeating. In Hebrew, there are only 22 letters of the alphabet, and technically they're all consonants.
There are also vowel sounds which are shown by the dot system called nikud.
Many of the sounds are similar to English, like b, v, sh, s, and t.
B, v, sh, s, t.
But there are a few sounds you may not recognize at first.
Like ch, ts.
In Hebrew, words are stressed differently than in English. Stress is usually on the last syllable of the word.
Avoda, motzetz, mitlabesh.
But in some cases, the stress is on the second to last syllable of the word.
לקוח, נוסע, מתלבשת.
Letters produce consonant sounds. These sounds are combined with vowel sounds indicated by the nikud. Vowel sounds you find in Hebrew are all found in English as well.
A, e, I, o, u.
There are different notations for these vowels, but in most cases, the basic vowel sound stays the same. The pattern of the word and the placement of the vowel determines which vowel symbol will be used.
For example, the word for language, lashon, and the word for crisis, mashber, both have a vowels after the first letter. But because of the way the word is constructed, the vowels are notated differently.
Some letters have two sounds, depending on if there's a stress on the consonant or not.
Bet is both b and v. Kaf is both k and ch. Pei is both p and f.
There is also one other letter that changes sound according to the dot above it.
That's shin and sin. It makes the sh sound when the dot is on the right, and the s sound when the dot is on the left.
The most daunting group of letters are the guttural letters.
A, h, ch, a, r.
3 of these letters are pronounced deep in the throat. These may feel unusual at first, but are fun to say once you get the hang of them.
Ein, chet, resh.
Most of the sounds in Hebrew are already sounds you use in English. That means that if you were to simply imitate a Hebrew speaker, your pronunciation would be correct a lot of the time. For example, listen and repeat after Edith.
Rakevet, rakevet.
Chances are your pronunciation was pretty spot on. The K, V, and T sounds are practically identical to English. It's only the R that's a little different. Focus on this first letter. It's often written as an R, but don't be fooled. This letter is pronounced differently than an English R. It's pronounced at the back of the throat instead of forward in the mouth. Listen to Edith say this letter.
R, r.
It's actually closer to the German or French R, but without the roll. Nearly all sounds in Hebrew are identical to English, like the K, V, and T sounds in this example. Since you already know how to pronounce most of these sounds, we only need to pay attention to the handful of sounds that are completely new to you. They're the ones we need to look out for. In the previous lesson, we taught you how to say thank you in Hebrew. Do you remember what it was? It's
Toda.
well done. Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that Hebrew has 22 letters, but even more sounds. The extra sounds come from the vowels and the consonants that can represent 2 sounds instead of 1. Many of the sounds in Hebrew are identical to the sounds in English. And there are only a handful of new sounds that you need to learn. We've covered only the basics of Hebrew pronunciation. If you're interested in learning more, check out our Ultimate Guide to Hebrew Pronunciation. In that video series, we teach you how to pronounce every single sound used in Hebrew. In the next lesson, we'll introduce you to the basics of Hebrew grammar, where you'll learn about Hebrew word order and how to build basic phrases in Hebrew. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Welcome to Introduction to Hebrew. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Idit.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Hebrew grammar. Word order refers to the order in which words are structured to form a sentence in a given language. The first thing you must remember when reading Hebrew is that it's read from right to left. Consider the English sentence, he ate an apple. But first, let's remove the article an here for simplicity. So we're just left with he ate apple. The basic word order for English is subject, verb, object, or SVO for short. If we break down the English sentence, he ate apple, we can see that the subject he is presented first, followed by the verb ate. And then finally, the object apple is positioned last. This is the basic word order for sentences in English.
Now let's compare that same sentence. He ate an apple in Hebrew. Hu achal tapuach. In Hebrew, you only need an article for definite articles. Here we have only an indefinite article, so we don't need a word like a or an. If we break down the Hebrew sentence, we get the subject, hu, meaning he. Then comes the verb, achal, meaning ate. And finally, we have the object, tapuach, meaning apple. The word order for Hebrew is the same as English, subject, verb, object, or SVO for short.
In Hebrew, for simple sentences with a verb, the order is the same as in English. Word order varies in Hebrew for emphasis and in more complicated sentences. You don't have to worry about that until you learn the basics. For now, use the basic subject, verb, object form when making sentences in Hebrew.
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
In Hebrew, you want to begin with the subject of your sentence. Let's start with the pronoun I.
In Hebrew, that's ani.
Next, you need your verb. In the present tense, there are 4 forms for verbs according to masculine plural, and feminine plural. When your subject is I, the verb is conjugated either in masculine or feminine, depending on who is talking.
Using the verb to love, le'ehov, as an example, the masculine is ohev, and the feminine is ohevet.
So, what do we have so far?
I'm a woman, so I would use the feminine, ani ohevet.
The last thing we need is an object, something you love. How about dogs?
Klavim, ani ohevet klavim. I love dogs. If I were a man, I would say, ani ohev klavim.
So, it's as simple as that, and very similar to English. Now it's your turn. See if you can use these words to make the sentence, the boy loves dogs.
Ohev, klavim, hayeled.
Did you succeed? First, you need the subject, the boy. In the present tense in Hebrew, the verb is determined by the number and gender of the subject. Here, we have one boy.
Hayeled.
Then you need to add the verb, the boy loves.
This verb will be conjugated in masculine singular for the boy. That's ohev. Hayeled ohev.
Finally, you add the object. Altogether, the boy loves dogs.
Hayeled ohev klavim.
But what if you're not a dog lover and you want to express that in Hebrew? Forming the negative in Hebrew is very easy. You just need to know one word.
Lo.
To make the sentence negative, you add this word before the verb.
Ani lo ohevet klavim.
Great! Now you know how to make a sentence in Hebrew, and you know how to say it in the negative. Next, we're going to teach you one more thing, how to ask a question in Hebrew. This is really difficult. Are you ready for this? You don't have to change a word in the sentence. To ask a question in Hebrew, you change how you say the words in the sentence. Let's hear, the boy loves dogs, as a question.
Hayeled ohev klavim?
Let's hear the difference between the normal sentence and the question.
The normal sentence is, Hayeled ohev klavim. The question is, Hayeled ohev klavim?
The formal way to ask this as a question is to add a word to the beginning of the sentence. But this way is not used very often in speech.
You say ha'im before the rest of the sentence. Ha'im hayeled ohev klavim?
If you want to ask, who loves dogs, you replace the subject with the word for who.
That word is mi. מי אוהב כלבים?
Well done! Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that Hebrew sentences are formed using a subject, verb, object, or SVO word order, just like in English. Secondly, you learned how to make a sentence negative by adding one word before the verb. Lastly, you learned that asking questions in Hebrew is easy because you only have to change the way you say the sentence to ask a question. We've covered only the very basics of Hebrew grammar. If you're interested in learning more, check out our Hebrew in 3 Minutes video series. In that course, we teach you useful phrases while covering the fundamentals of Hebrew grammar, and each lesson is only 3 minutes long. In the next lesson, we'll introduce you to the basics of Hebrew writing. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Hebrew. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Edith.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Hebrew writing.
In Hebrew, we use 2 different scripts, one for print and one for handwriting.
Most people learn the printed script first, and even learn to write their letters this way.
These are called otiyot dfus.
Printed letters are rarely used for handwriting other than in elementary school, so most people learn script letters very quickly after learning the printed letters.
Script letters are called otiyot ktav.
One thing you don't have to worry about in Hebrew is capital letters. There's only one case for letters in Hebrew. Here's some general information about Hebrew letters. Hebrew is read right to left, the opposite of English. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and they are all consonants. You may be thinking, but what about vowels, right?
These dots are placed underneath or next to the letter in order to let you know what vowel comes after the consonant. Here is the word for dog, kelev, without nikud. And here it is with nikud. Let's do the same with the word for boy, yeled. Without nikud, it's... And with nikud, it looks like this.
Those are both with vowels. Let's look at one with some other vowels.
How about the word for mountains, harim? Here it is with nikud. This has both an a vowel and an e vowel.
Although this is very useful when you're learning Hebrew, don't get used to it. Most things in Hebrew are written without the vowel dots.
The reason we usually don't use nikud when writing Hebrew is that we don't really need it.
That's right. Hebrew is very systematic and structured. It's very methodical and logical. Words are created according to patterns, and this helps you figure out what vowels are used in the words.
You already know the word for dog, which is kelev. Next time you see this word, you don't need to see the vowels because you know they are there. You'll have to rely on what you've learned.
There are some letters in Hebrew that will indicate what vowels are present. These letters are technically consonants, but can behave like vowels.
Aleph, Hey, Vav, Yud, Ain. For example, the letter Hey often ends a word with an A or an E sound, like in the words Laila, for night, and Boneh, the masculine singular form for build.
There are 5 letters that change form when they're at the end of a word, but they're still the same letter.
Chaf, Chaf sofit. Mem, Mem sofit. Nun, Nun sofit. Pei, Pei sofit. Tzadi, Tzadi sofit. Here's an example of how this works. The letter Mem looks like this in the beginning or middle of the word, Mem, like in the word for stage, Bama. When it comes in the end, it looks like this, Mem, like in the word for the sea, Yam.
3 letters can have 2 different sounds depending on whether they are in a stressed position or not.
Bet is both B and V. In the word Bama, or stage, it makes a B sound, and in the word for dog, or kelev, it makes a V sound. chaf is both k and ch. For this example, we can use the word for dog again. In kelev, this letter makes a k sound. And in the word for correct, which is nachon, it makes a ch sound. This letter also has a special end form that looks like this. When it comes at the end of the word, like chiyuch, the word for smile, it's always pronounced ch. Pei is both p and f. In the word parpar, or butterfly, this letter is pronounced with a p sound. In the word for book, or sefer, it's pronounced with a f sound.
There are also 6 pairs of letters that at one point in history had different sounds, but today sound very similar.
Aleph and Ain, Bet and Vav, Chet and Chaf, Tet and Taf, Kaf and Kuf, Samech and Sin. For example, the words telephone, meaning telephone, and tshuva, meaning answer, begin with 2 different letters of the alphabet, but you would never know that unless you saw them written.
One interesting aspect of the Hebrew alphabet is the letters also represent numbers.
Aleph represents the number 1. Bet represents the number 2, and so on. When you get to the number 10, or Yud, we add the first 9 letters to it to represent 11 through 19.
The letters can be combined to create numbers into the hundreds and thousands. You can find the first 10 letters used as numbers in many day-to-day contexts.
For instance, Sunday is often referred to as Yom Aleph, or Day 1. The first semester in university is called Semester Aleph.
Okay, let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that there are 2 different scripts used to write Hebrew, printed script and written script. Hebrew is written and read from right to left. All 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet are consonants. There are also vowels in Hebrew, and these are written with a dot system. Some letters in Hebrew cover 2 sounds, and other sounds are covered by 2 letters. And lastly, the Hebrew alphabet can also be used to represent numbers. If you want to learn more, check out our Learn Hebrew Writing video series. In the next lesson, you'll be entering Hebrew Boot Camp, where you'll learn useful beginner phrases to get you speaking Hebrew right away. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Hebrew. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Edith.
In this lesson, we'll focus on teaching you the most useful Hebrew words and phrases for absolute beginners.
Make sure you're repeating the words out loud after I say the examples.
Are you ready? Let's get started. The best phrase to learn when studying a new language is one that expresses gratitude and appreciation. If you had to learn only a single phrase, this would be it.
We taught you this phrase in the first lesson of this series. Do you remember what it was? Toda. It means thank you.
Keep repeating after Edith until you get it.
Toda.
Your turn.
Toda. Toda.
But what if you want to express even greater thanks, like in English when you say, thank you very much?
Then you would add a rabba after the toda.
Altogether, it's...
Toda rabba.
The next phrase we'll teach you is perhaps the second most useful phrase of all. It's to apologize or to excuse yourself.
Slicha. It means excuse me or I'm sorry. Slicha.
Use this phrase when you want to grab a waiter's attention or when you're hustling through the busy streets of Tel Aviv.
Slicha.
Your turn.
Slicha.
Imagine you're on the street and you want to stop someone to ask them for directions. What do you say?
Slicha.
Okay, one last time.
Slicha.
Now you can say thank you very much, excuse me, and I'm sorry in Hebrew. Let's move on. Asking where something is an incredibly important and useful phrase to learn. You're going to need this when asking where the bathroom, the train station, or where the hotel is. To ask where something is, put the Hebrew word for where first, and then add the place you want to find.
Eifo. That's Hebrew for where.
For example, if you want to ask, where is the bathroom?
Eifo השירותים?
For the train station, it'll be,
Eifo תחנת הרכבת?
and so on. You can ask where something is by starting with,
Eifo.
You might have noticed that this sentence is a few words shorter than the English equivalent.
Well, that's because in Hebrew, we don't have a word for is, and the word for the is connected to the noun. So in the sentence, Eifo השירותים, you're actually saying, where the bathroom?
So that makes it a little simpler. You only need to know the word for where,
Eifo.
and the destination you want to get to. Let's practice these two sentences again. First is, where is the bathroom?
Eifo השירותים?
Your turn.
Eifo השירותים?
The second word of this sentence is the word we use for bathroom in Hebrew.
שירותים.
Technically, this word means services. Okay, now let's teach you some vocabulary so that you can use it in the sentence. Here are some of the most common words you'll need to learn.
בית מלון.
Hotel.
בית מלון. איפה בית המלון?
If you ask someone this question, they'll direct you to the closest hotel. If you'd like to ask where a specific hotel is, like Hilton, for example, simply place the name after hotel.
בית מלון. בית מלון הילטון. איפה בית המלון הילטון?
Next,
מכולת.
convenience store.
מכולת. איפה המכולת?
Our second example sentence was, where is the train station?
איפה תחנת הרכבת?
The second word in this sentence means station, and the last word means train.
איפה תחנת הרכבת?
Your turn.
איפה תחנת הרכבת?
You can substitute almost anything and simply start with
איפה.
to ask where something is in Hebrew. In this final lesson, you learned how to say thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry, and how to ask where something is in Hebrew. And in this series, we introduced you to the basics of Hebrew pronunciation, grammar, writing, and more. Let's conclude with some parting advice from Edith. Listen to some of her tips on how to learn Hebrew from a native Hebrew speaker's perspective.
The best way to learn Hebrew, particularly if you want to improve your communication skills, is to watch and study contemporary Hebrew videos. That's because we often use expressions in daily conversations that aren't necessarily introduced in grammar textbooks. The biggest mistake that I see learners make is stressing too much about making the guttural letter sounds. They may sound funny to you in the beginning, but if you loosen your mouth and just go with the flow, you'll learn that it's actually fun to make these sounds. Watching contemporary videos, such as our videos here at HebrewPod101.com, will ensure that you're learning real, applicable Hebrew in the fastest and most effective way, and you'll be able to perfect the sounds of Hebrew by repeating after us in the videos.
You've reached the end of this course, Introduction to Hebrew, but it's only the beginning of your journey to Hebrew fluency. Where do you go from here? Try our Hebrew in 3-minute series, where we teach you basic grammar and even more useful phrases. Or check out any of our other video series. We have many different categories for you to choose from. Good luck as you continue learning Hebrew, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!
Bye!
Want to master grammar so you can speak properly, express yourself better, and understand more? In this video, I'll show you how to master grammar with our lessons and learning program. Let's begin. Number 1, listen to the lesson conversations and explanations. In every lesson, you learn a conversation. Then, our teachers break down every word and grammar rule. So you're actually learning grammar rules in the context of conversations, and you can easily see how they're used. Once you're done, review the conversation again and again to remember what you've learned. Number 2, read the bonus explanations and tutorials. With the lesson notes, you get extra grammar explanations and examples that are not presented in the lesson. After you're done with the lesson, read the lesson notes for extra review. You can even save them as PDFs so that you can access them anytime. Number 3, leave a comment on the lesson. Once you've learned a grammar point, be sure to use it. Leave a comment in the comments section. Write some example sentences for practice. Our teachers will review your comment and give you feedback. Number 4, unlock even more grammar lessons. If you want to find all of the grammar lessons available, visit our lesson library. Under Category, choose Grammar. You'll get all of the pathways and lessons dedicated to helping you learn and master sentence patterns and grammar points. So, if you're ready to finally learn a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hi everyone, my name is Yara, and today we're going to do top Hebrew phrases. These are very useful phrases you're going to hear a lot when you come to Israel, so make sure to memorize them. Okay, let's start. Shalom. Hello. Shalom literally means peace, but we use it also as a greeting. Shalom. Ma nishma? How are you? That's a very casual way of asking how are you, and it literally means what is heard. Like what have you been up to? What's going on with you? Ma nishma? Toda. Thanks. And probably the only way to say it, we don't have like thanks or thank you, it's just toda. Bevakasha. Please. Bevakasha, it means please, but it can also mean there you go. So you can say, אפשר לקבל מים בבקשה? Can I have water, please? And when you give someone water, you can also say, בבקשה. There you go. סליחה. Excuse me. It means excuse me or sorry. So when you like push through people in the bus, you can go, סליחה, סליחה, סליחה. But when you step on someone on the bus, you can also say, אוי, סליחה, I'm sorry. להתראות. See you. It literally means to see each other again. So it's like, to see each other again. להתראות. It's also very casual. בסדר. Okay. This is a very, very useful word. You can say it when someone asks you, how are you? בסדר. You can say it to show you understand something. When someone gives you direction, you're like, בסדר. It literally means in order, like everything's in order. טוב. Fine. Most of the time it means fine. Literally it means good. A lot like בסדר. How are you? טוב. To respond to a direction, like go that way, please. טוב. Fine, I understand. על לא דבר. You're welcome. We use it as you're welcome, and it literally means, oh, for nothing. Thank you. Oh, על לא דבר. It was nothing. It's maybe a bit more formal than בבקשה. Most of the times when people say תודה, you answer בבקשה. You can also answer על לא דבר. It's pretty much the same, though בבקשה is a bit more common. בוקר טוב. Good morning. בוקר טוב, which literally means good morning, and you obviously use it in the morning. בוקר טוב. לילה טוב. Good night. So yeah, good night you can say when you leave a party at night, you can say, okay, bye, good night, לילה טוב. צהריים טובים. Good afternoon. צהריים טובים. Good afternoon. You can definitely say that, but you don't hear it that often. It literally means good noon. מה שמך? What's your name? For a male, it would be מה שמך. For a female, מה שמך? What is your name? You can also ask, איך קוראים לך? which literally means how are you called? And this is the most common way to ask. Na'im lehakir, nice to meet you. Literally, I guess it would mean pleasant. It is pleasant to meet you. And you can say na'im להכיר אותך for a woman, or נעים להכיר אותך for a man. איפה, where. איפה התחנה, where is the station. איפה is very important, you should memorize this one. אני מבין, I see. For a woman it would be אני מבינה. I understand, I see. אני מבינה. מה השעה? What time is it? The literal translation would be, what is the hour? This is how you ask. סליחה, מה השעה? Excuse me, what time is it? אפשר בבקשה לקבל? Can I please have? אפשר בבקשה לקבל מים? Can I please have some water? And this would be the same for a male speaker and for a female speaker. אפשר בבקשה לקבל? איפה השירותים? Where's the restroom? איפה השירותים? Where is the restroom? שירותים is restroom. איפה השירותים? Another one to memorize. אני מצטער. I am sorry. אני מצטער. Or for a female speaker, אני מצטערת. אני מצטערת להפריע. I'm sorry to interrupt. כן. Yes. You can use it in any way you use yes. Yeah, use it. Be positive. לא. No. I like this word. It has a fun sound, and it was my sister's first word. לא. No. בא לי. I feel like. בא לי. It's two words. בא לי. And it means I feel like, I want. And you can also use it as a negative. בא לי גלידה. I feel like ice cream. I want ice cream. לא בא לי ללכת לבית הספר. I don't feel like going to school. So it's very useful. Children use it a lot, but grown-ups use it too. די. Enough. Stop. It sounds really bad, but it's harmless. It means enough or stop. When someone is like bugging you, poking you, like, די. Stop it. Enough. Yeah. כמה זה עולה? How much is it? כמה זה עולה? How much is it? How much does it cost? מעולה. Awesome. Great. I guess maybe the Hebrew equivalent of the word awesome, it's מעולה. The masculine form is מעולה and the feminine is מעולה. Like, ההופעה הזאת מעולה. This show is awesome. It's great. איך היה הטיול? היה מעולה. How was the trip? It was מעולה. Great, awesome. Okay, that's it for today for top Hebrew phrases. Thank you so much for watching. And what is your favorite Hebrew phrase? Tell us on the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye. Phrases. I forgot my name.
Want to finally learn Hebrew the fast, fun, and easy way? In this video, I'll show you the top 10 ways to get started. So let's begin. Number 1, take your very first lesson. Access any audio or video lesson on HebrewPod101.com and just press the play button to get started. Don't have an account? Don't worry. Just go to the sign up page to create an account. It takes less than 30 seconds and it's free. We have thousands of audio and video lessons covering a variety of topics like grammar, pronunciation, listening, and reading. Just click on the play button on any lesson and start learning. Number 2, read along with the lesson. You can read along with the lesson notes or lesson transcript. These come with every lesson. The lesson notes provide you with the dialogue for the scene taught in the lesson, along with translations, a more in-depth explanation of the grammar and culture, and even vocab and sample sentences. The lesson transcript is the full word-for-word transcript of everything you hear in the lesson. And the dialogue study tool provides you with the audio for the lesson dialogue, along with the translations. Number 3, shadowing. Shadowing is a tested learning technique where you repeat what you hear. This is a great way to start speaking in minutes and practice speaking in general. If you're listening along with the lesson audio or dialogue, be sure to shadow along the way. Number 4, use the dialogue study tool to master the conversation. Here, you get the line-by-line breakdown of the conversation demonstrated in the lesson. Listen and repeat until you've mastered each line. Do this until you've mastered the entire conversation. Number 5. Use the voice recorder to perfect your pronunciation and speaking. In the dialogue study tool, you'll find a microphone icon next to each line. Click on it to record your voice. Then, compare it with the native speakers. Listen and adjust your pronunciation until you match that of the native speaker. Number 6. Review vocab with the lesson vocabulary list. Vocabulary words are the building blocks of language. You can save vocab words taught in each lesson by clicking on Add to Word Bank. Want to drill the words with smart flashcards instead? Just click on Add to Flashcard Deck to do so. Number 7. Listen to the review track. If you've studied an audio lesson before, just listen to the review track so that you don't have to listen through the entire lesson again. This is a great way to reinforce the material that you've learned, and it's great to have on the go. Just access any audio lesson and click on the download icon. Then click Review to download the review track. Number 8. Review with quizzes after the lesson. Once you're confident enough with the material taught in the lesson, be sure to take the quiz to test your newfound knowledge. Take the review questions and answer true or false for each one. Or take the writing questions and input your answer. Remember to check the answers by clicking on the Check Answers button. Number 9. Participate and leave a comment. The best way to master what you've learned is to use it. Join the community of learners by leaving a comment below at the end of every lesson. Our dedicated teachers will check your responses to correct you on any mistakes or provide you with helpful study tips and advice. And finally, number 10. Move on to the next lesson. Done with a lesson? Mark the lesson as complete. You can see your overall learning progress on your dashboard. If you particularly enjoyed the lesson, mark the lesson as favorite so that you can come back to it later at any time. Click on the forward arrow to move on to the next lesson and continue learning. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn Hebrew, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. Remember, you can sign up to HebrewPod101.com by clicking on the link in the description. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds, and it's free. I'll see you next time. Bye! Are you feeling confident as a beginner-level language learner? Are you ready to move up to the intermediate level? Here are some tips to help you make that leap and advance your language learning progress. Tip number 1, determine your skill level. It's important to look across your skills in the major language competencies: listening, speaking, writing, and reading. By taking our level assessment test, you can review your skills in each competency and see your strengths and weaknesses. Keep in mind it's normal to be better in some skills than others. Premium Plus users can take our level assessment test and get personalized recommendations and learning pathways based on your results. Once you've figured out which skills need work, it's time to take action. No matter which of your language skills need to be improved, make sure you choose a method that's both effective and fun to help maintain your regular learning routine. Tip number 2, listening. The most effective way to build your listening comprehension is by building a strong vocabulary. The more vocab you master, the easier it will be to understand the context and details of the conversation. Songs in the target language are a key listening tool that will teach you common, everyday vocabulary. By learning and memorizing the lyrics, you're building up your vocabulary. If you really want your listening skills to take off, listen to our podcasts. We have hundreds of hours of audio lessons for you to listen to. Before you know it, you'll be able to understand shows and movies. Tip number 3, speaking. Add speaking elements to your language routine. Try shadowing podcasts, repeating along while you listen. Match the native speaker's pronunciation and intonation. This is a fantastic way to improve your fluency and accuracy. You can also find a partner for conversation exchange. A partner can help correct your mistakes and teach you more natural ways to phrase your ideas. Tip number 4, writing. An easy way to start writing more often is by keeping a one-sentence journal. Write one sentence in a journal every day. It doesn't take a lot of time and is a great habit for beginners to build a routine. You have to be consistent to make improvements. Ask native speakers to correct your writing to improve even faster. You can submit sentences and phrases to your teacher using Premium Plus. Tip number 5, reading. Reading is a skill you can improve by yourself. There's no need to rush. It doesn't matter if you read 1 or 100 pages at a time. What matters is that you understand what you read. Write down new words as you read them to practice later. If there's an audio version, read along with the narrator. It'll help you read at a slightly faster speed than normal. You can use the audio that comes with each of our lessons. Bonus tip, never give up. Where do your language skills currently stand? Where do you want them to be? How do you get there? Whatever your goal is, make it clear and part of your life. You'll reach it if you stay focused and positive. And if you really want your skills to take off, make use of our tools and resources. They're designed to help you get to the next level in the fastest, easiest, and most fun way. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free lifetime account. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds. Click the link in the description and start learning right away. I'll see you there. Bye! Can you really learn a new language all alone? Learning a language without traditional classroom instruction may seem quite daunting at first. What if you run into questions? How do you stay on track and motivated to achieve your goals? Don't worry. Not only is it possible to learn any language without traditional classroom instruction, we have created an advanced and extensive online language learning system to help you do just that. It's designed to help you learn a language on your own and is faster, more convenient, and less expensive than traditional classroom options. Here are 3 reasons to learn a language alone. Number 1, learn at your own pace and on your own schedule. In today's fast-paced world, there isn't always time for traditional classroom instruction. But when you learn alone, you can study anywhere and anytime that suits your schedule best. It makes it far easier to actually reach your goal of learning and mastering the language. Number 2, learning a language on your own can reduce stress and anxiety. In traditional classroom settings, there are pop quizzes, tests, and presentations in front of classmates. While it's valuable to learn public speaking skills and to be able to perform under pressure, for some people, these classroom pressures are a big hurdle for their language learning dreams. Learning alone, however, removes these stressors. Learning outside of a traditional classroom setting can help reduce some of the stress you may feel, and you can work towards your goals all on your own. Number 3, learning alone can help improve cognitive function. While classroom settings often require learners to spend lots of time memorizing information and following instructions, studying a language on your own requires you to problem solve so that you can self-teach and hit your goals. You'll also need to be strict with yourself and stick to a regular study schedule. So yes, in some ways, learning a language on your own can be more challenging than learning in a traditional classroom setting. But teaching yourself a language pays dividends throughout life. In addition to learning a language, you'll also learn time management and problem-solving skills. These are skills that will aid you when social and professional opportunities arise. So, how do you actually learn a language on your own? Number 1, access our huge collection of audio and video lessons. Ideally, you want audio and/or video lessons that teach vocabulary, grammar, and provide actual conversations and dialogue in your target language to help you with real pronunciation. We have hundreds of hours of HD audio and video lessons on our website, created by professional teachers and actors to help you achieve perfect pronunciation. Plus, all lessons can be accessed 24/7 via any device with internet access. Number 2, learning paths with courses based upon your exact needs and goals. Simply tell us your goals and we will identify the best courses and study plan to help you reach them in the shortest time possible. Even though you are technically learning a language on your own, our team is always here to help and make sure you reach your goals fast. Number 3, use advanced learning tools. When you have the right tools and learning resources, it's actually easy to teach yourself a language. Over the last 10 years, we've developed, tested, and refined more than 20 advanced learning tools. These tools aim to boost retention and reduce learning time. Eliminate stress and start learning at your own pace, in bed, your car, or wherever you have a few spare minutes. Our learning resources and tools are designed to help you get to the next level in the fastest, easiest, and most fun way. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free lifetime account. So if you want to learn language anytime, anywhere, sign up for a free lifetime account by clicking the link in the description. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds. Click the link in the description and start learning right away. I'll see you there. Bye! Want to master grammar so you can speak properly, express yourself better, and understand more? In this video, I'll show you how to master grammar with our lessons and learning program. Let's begin. Number 1. Listen to the lesson conversations and explanations. In every lesson, you learn a conversation. Then, our teachers break down every word and grammar rule. So you're actually learning grammar rules in the context of conversations, and you can easily see how they're used. Once you're done, review the conversation again and again to remember what you've learned. Number 2. Read the bonus explanations and tutorials. With the lesson notes, you get extra grammar explanations and examples that are not presented in the lesson. After you're done with the lesson, read the lesson notes for extra review. You can even save them as PDFs so that you can access them anytime. Number 3. Leave a comment on the lesson. Once you've learned a grammar point, be sure to use it. Leave a comment in the comments section. Write some example sentences for practice. Our teachers will review your comment and give you feedback. Number 4. Unlock even more grammar lessons. If you want to find all of the grammar lessons available, visit our lesson library. Under Category, choose Grammar. You'll get all of the pathways and lessons dedicated to helping you learn and master sentence patterns and grammar points. So, if you're ready to finally learn a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share it with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Have you always wanted to learn a new language? You probably have your own reason for wanting to learn, but there are huge benefits to being bilingual that you might not know about. In this video, I'll introduce a few of them. Here are some reasons why you should learn a new language. Number 1. You become smarter. Studies show that learning a new language improves your focus and memory. It improves your decision-making. You score higher on intelligence tests, and you're less likely to be swayed by propaganda. Number 2. You make more friends. Because you get to communicate with more people, you can meet more people and make more friends. This will help you get more opportunities, like jobs. Number 3. Find love. The more people you meet, the more opportunities you have of finding that special someone. Number 4. You can travel with ease. Simply because you can express yourself confidently in another language. Catching a cab, ordering food, and getting around will never be a problem. Number 5. You're more open-minded and feel more empathy. Because a new language puts you in another culture's shoes. When you can speak in another language, you see the world the way that the native speakers do. In fact, when some bilinguals switch from one language to another, they also switch personalities and express themselves differently. For example, people tend to feel more direct and assertive when speaking English, and more polite when speaking Japanese. So this allows you to understand others' worldviews and connect with people on a deeper level. Number 6. You delay the mental effects of aging. By 4 or 5 years. Learning and mastering another language sharpens your brain and increases the amount of gray matter, which helps delay dementia. So if you're ready to finally learn and master a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! When learning a new language, we sometimes have a hard time with things like procrastination, discouragement, or failure. But don't panic. With a good strategy, you'll be able to overcome these difficulties. Are you ready to discover the 4 habits of successful learners? Number 1, optimize your time. When learning a language, it's important to dedicate time to your studies regularly, even if sometimes it's difficult. You're busy with school, work, family, or friends, but you can spread out your learning throughout the day. Study whenever you have small gaps of time in your busy schedule. This can be when you're on the metro, on your lunch break, or while you're exercising. Our podcast learning format fits perfectly into your tight schedule. Number 2, consistency with your chosen method. There are a lot of options when it comes to courses and learning materials. Switching from one method to another can confuse you and disrupt your progress. Focusing on one learning method will make a difference. Our method has been created and optimized by real teachers, so you can stick to it with confidence. Number 3, use your language background. Many languages share some commonalities. You can find words that look or sound similar, or even share the same grammar structure. A little bit of language background will give you an edge while learning. Number 4, study continuously. People are excited when they start learning a new language. The enthusiasm usually lasts until the first roadblock. This can lead to discouragement and procrastination. But don't burn yourself out. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to learn it all at once. Break things down into more digestible chunks. Learning step by step might feel slow, but it's an efficient way to learn a language. With patience, motivation, and good resources, you'll master the language. Remember, you can't learn a language overnight, but with motivation and these daily lessons, you'll be on the road to fluency. Give it a try now. Sign up for your account. Just click the link in the description. If you're learning a new language, there will be times when you'll struggle with the lesson, when you won't fully understand what you've learned, when you'll be in a rut, or when you just won't feel like you're making any progress. And that's totally normal. In this video, you'll learn what to do if you're not learning, and how to overcome language learning struggles. Let's begin. Number 1, understand the mindset of a successful learner. Some learners are more successful than others. A key difference between successful learners and less successful learners is in the way they approach problems. Some learners rely completely on a learning program. If there's a grammar rule or word they don't understand, they get frustrated and blame the program. They don't look for solutions. Successful learners approach problems a little differently. If they encounter a problem, they look for a solution or ask for help instead of getting frustrated. You may feel frustrated at times, especially if you're a beginner, but how you choose to react will make all the difference. Number 2, set small, measurable, realistic goals with a deadline. Most learners fail because they set big, vague goals, like, I want to be fluent. When they realize they have no idea how to do that, they lose motivation and quit. The solution to this? Set small, measurable, realistic goals with a deadline. For example, finish 10 audio lessons by the end of this week. Learn 20 words by the end of this week. Speak 1 minute of conversation by the end of this month. Listen to lessons for just 5 minutes a day, every day this month. Now your goals are small and realistic enough to accomplish. They're specific and measurable, so you know when you reach them, and the deadline gives you a finish line. For example, either you learned all 20 words by Friday or you didn't. When you reach your goal, you gain a ton of confidence. This improves your chances of reaching your next goal because you've had experience reaching a goal and you understand the things you need to do to be successful. Number 3, read along with the lesson notes and lesson transcripts. Now, what if you're doing a lesson but you can't catch a word? Take advantage of the lesson notes and lesson transcripts and read along with the lesson. The lesson notes give you in-depth grammar and vocabulary explanations that are not available in the lesson. And the lesson notes give you the word-for-word transcript of everything said in the lesson. So if you want to pick up every word, read the transcript. Number 4, review, because repetition is the mother of all learning. If you're struggling with a particular word, grammar rule, or lesson, be sure to repeat and review it a few times. And then, come back a few days later and review it again. This same principle is used in our spaced repetition flashcards. The system quizzes you on words, then re-quizzes you in 3 days, then in 6 days, and so on, until the word gets embedded in your long-term memory. Some things you can do right now are download the lesson and lesson notes, save the words to your word bank, or even write down the words or grammar rules. Then come back to review them later. Number 5, reach out to our teachers and ask questions. If you're a Premium Plus member, you can easily get in touch with your teacher and get all of your points of confusion cleared up. Or you can always leave a comment on our lessons, and our teachers will get back to you. Remember, you're not alone. If you're struggling with a lesson, you can always get in touch with us. Number 6, take a break and go do something else. Another thing you can do is take a break and do something else that doesn't require much thinking. There's a reason our best ideas come while in the shower or while taking a walk. While you're on a break, your brain is more relaxed and starts making connections that you couldn't see when you were focused and stressed out. It's also why coming back to review things with a fresh mind can help you better understand the lessons you've taken. Number 7, downgrade your learning routine. If you're studying for 30 minutes a day and find yourself overwhelmed, or if you suddenly find yourself busy, the best thing to do is to reduce your study routine to something easier and more manageable. If you've been learning 30 minutes a day, drop down to 10 or 15 minutes. Even 5 minutes is good enough because language learning success comes with consistency. Quitting and coming back every 3 months won't work. This brings us to our next point. Number 8, remember, learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Think about it. You can't cram for 5 hours and expect to remember everything you've studied. So just like with a marathon, it's okay to go slow and at your own pace, even if you're learning for just 5 minutes a day. Similarly, if you're having trouble understanding a grammar point or a lesson, don't let it bring you down. Learning a language is a marathon, a long-term game. The little points of confusion you have now are just small obstacles, and you'll fully understand them with time. So, if you're ready to finally learn a new language the fast, fun, and easy way, sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Signing up takes less than 30 seconds, and you'll start speaking from your very first lesson. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! If you're tired of knowing and speaking the language at a basic level and want to express yourself fluently just like native speakers, then you'll need to learn grammar. The problem? It can be tricky to learn. But don't worry. In this guide, you'll discover how to learn and master grammar with the Grammar Bank. 1. Where to get all of the grammar explanations you'll ever need. 2. The best way to learn grammar that's right for your level. And 3. How to expose yourself to real examples until the rules become natural to you with a study tool called the Grammar Bank inside of our learning program. But first, if you don't yet have access to our program, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description. First, what is the Grammar Bank? The Grammar Bank is like a grammar dictionary, except online. It's a database of the must-know grammar rules and explanations that makes it easy to look up specific rules and learn them. Look for it in the top menu of our site. 2. How do you learn grammar with it? The best way to learn grammar is not to just study rules, but to learn in context and hear the grammar used in real life. And that's exactly how you learn with our lessons. You learn a quick conversation and hear how the grammar rules are used within that conversation. 3. What if you come across grammar that you're not familiar with? Or what if you want to review a specific rule without going back to redo a lesson? That's where the Grammar Bank comes in. You can look up grammar rules and get the explanations, examples, and links to lessons where we cover these rules. You can also sort grammar by learning level. So if you're an absolute beginner and want to make sure you know all of the absolute beginner grammar rules, you can do just that with the Grammar Bank. You can also sort the rules by spelling, category, and lesson series. And if you want to get used to the grammar patterns so that you can use them in conversation and become fluent, the best way is to expose yourself to examples as much as possible. Grammar is hard at first, but gets easy once you get used to it with enough exposure. Be sure to access the related lessons inside the Grammar Bank and listen to the native conversations that use the rule as much as possible. So, if you want to become fluent and speak perfectly, you'll need grammar. Take advantage of the Grammar Bank inside of our learning program. But if you don't yet have access, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to sign up. Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Hebrew ebook before it's gone.